Yeah, as Ethan said, I got pulled in last minute to present. I did have, there it is, did have slides. I've got some other stuff. I'm just going to actively encourage people. There are chairs at the front. Please come forward. I don't want to have to yell this whole time. That was actually a call to action, by the way. If nothing else, can everyone please stand up, everyone? So you got, please?
Too close now.
Worth a try. So yeah, due to what I'm going to describe as a lack of preparation, due to, I'm going to call it poor planning on my part, I'm going to be heavily relying on audience participation in order to pad out my time. So yeah, can everyone please put their left hand in the air? Good. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Good. Let's see if we can change that. Sorry. So I have got rough slides together, but to be honest, I don't plan on using them. I've got a whiteboard. I've got a pen. Hopefully that's good enough. Did anyone, I'm not sure how long it was on the Meetup page, but did anyone see the title of my presentation? Just hands in the air if you've seen it. Okay, one person, good. I can just pretend it was whatever I want. That's great. So I'm just going to start with an open question to the room. If we want, in fact, hands in the air, I'll throw a ball at you. Yeah. What does, just general consensus, like what is DevOps? Like, it's a very vaguely defined term, right? Does anyone want to give an answer? Yeah?
It's whatever the company defines it to be.
All right.
I'm honest. They don't have a defined definition of what it is.
I'm just going to put a question mark as one of the answers then, because that's quite accurate, I would say.
All right.
There you go. It is a very, I would say honestly, quite correct answer as well.
So here's how I define it. I define it as creating feedback loops to the business, to suit the business needs.
Feedback loops, yeah. Sorry, can you wait until I finish writing to throw that back, just to make sure? Go on. Right, so feedback loops at the back. All right.
Let's go.
Is this in the health and safety assessment, by the way? Am I allowed to be throwing this? I should have asked. I've got a thumbs up. So
I would say it's a state of mind and it's an approach.
State of mind and approach. Would you mind if I write the word philosophy just to save writing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's an approach to, rather than looking at things in silos, to instead say, well, we've got dev and we've got ops. Let's make them closer together, talk to each other, speed things up by working together rather than dividing apart.
So removing silos, looking at the greater whole rather than an individual section is, I would say, quite apt, yeah. Anyone else want to throw stuff forward? No? So I think this is, to be honest, quite accurate to what I would consider it to be as well, which is good because I've got the control of the narrative here, the joy of speaking. So thinking back to the, right, sorry, actually, I'm going to open a question to the room. Who's read the Phoenix project? Put one hand up. Who's read the DevOps handbook? Similar but different groups for some of it, which is quite interesting to see. So if I say the core chronic conflict, does anyone know what that refers to? Yeah, that was a nod, right? Was it a nod?
Look at someone else.
I'll look at someone else. Okay, so DevOps as a concept, I can't say this for definite because actually it originates back in like sidebars at conferences, people discussing and so on. But I think it's reasonably fair to say DevOps as a concept was heavily popularized by the DevOps handbook and the Phoenix project as two literary works. So I think it's difficult to look at DevOps and separate the concept from, at least conceptually, from the origin of them books. The reason why I mention this is they address the idea of what's a core chronic conflict within a company. Specifically, the idea that you've got, in fact, I'm not going to try and write this in real time, sorry. You've got two different competing goals. You've got the development teams, which they want to complete work and changes really quickly, because their main thing is to respond to urgent business needs in order to make sure IT is contributing to business goals. On the other hand, you've got your operations people. They want to complete work and changes more carefully to ensure successful outcomes. No one wants prod to go down. I think that's a reasonable assessment, yeah? So their main goal is to provide a stable, predictable production environment, which again is how they contribute to the IT business outcomes. So we've got a stable environment, and we've got a fast, quick environment. Roughly speaking, the original issue which DevOps was sort of aiming to address was the idea that you either have to be fast or safe, and you can't be both. As a rough, essential thing, through the implementation of feedback loops, through the improvement of the management philosophy behind things, it's all sort of linked together. Specifically, can anyone, this is leaning on the people who've read the Phoenix project and the DevOps handbook, which is a little bit of a contraction of a room. But does anyone remember like where some of the influences come from? If I say that, I'm trying to phrase it in a way where I'm not giving away the answer. But a lot of the concepts originate in manufacturing. If I say that, anyone know which form of manufacturing? Yeah.
Toyota, if I remember rightly.
Yes.
Car manufacturing.
An amount of Toyota production system combined with lean manufacturing. Actually, in terms of people they name, one of the people they quite heavily name is Dr. Goldratt, who actually did theory of constraints as well, as sort of three main influences if we're going for them. And one of the things which, sort of coming back to the removing silos one of the key things which Goldratt put forward as an idea is looking at a system as a whole and global improvements, not local optimizations. Yeah. So another open question to the room. Hopefully this one's a bit more broad and applicable. Can anyone tell me what the goal of a business is? To make money.
Survival.
Survival's a good one as well, to be fair. Hopefully your goal is beyond just survival though, right?
Deliver new features.
Well, that's how we deliver on goal, I suppose, yeah. I like the one of money, though, mainly because it lines up with what I was planning on presenting. So this is a very fixed narrative with open choices. Yeah.
Sustainable profit as well.
Sustainable profit, that's a good one, yeah. In fact, you know what? Can you pass me my bag?
This one?
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you. Sorry, it's a little bit heavy.
That's all right.
That is a very good one. I'm going to give you a golden star.
Oh, really?
I have stickers, by the way.
You make me feel special. Wish I felt that at work.
Yeah, it's great.
Teachers better.
Do you want to just take one off?
Thank you very much.
I'm not going to hold everyone else up waiting for that. So, a goal of a business, I think is fair to say, is to make money. More specifically, we want to make money now. We want to make money in the future. And we don't want to do that in a way where we're going to, we don't want to prioritize short-term profits too highly at the detriment of long-term profits, and we don't want to damage long-term profits at the cost of short-term gains. Roughly fair thing to say, yeah? Another way in which we can express the goal of making money would be in terms of net profit. We can talk in terms of return on investment, and also we can talk in terms of the third one, which is completely escaping me. Sorry about this.
Sustainability, maybe?
There was a third one. I'm just trying to find it. Cash flow. That's one I forgot. So, in order. Does anyone want to try and guess why net profit's important? I feel like that's quite an easy one to go with. Come on, you get an easy gold star. Anyone?
Go bust.
Yeah, if you're not profitable, you're going to lose money. putting it bluntly, aren't you? What about return on investment? Why is that important? Why do we want to increase that?
You don't want to throw good money after bad.
Well, it's partially that, but I think also like if you get 100,000 net profit, but you have to spend 10 million to do it, that's a bad business, roughly speaking. And then same for cash flow. Why is cash flow important?
Keep operating.
Yeah, so you keep operating. You need to have more money coming in at a time where you can spend it again on stuff. So essentially, as a business, we want all three of these to go up, but these are pretty meaningless, I think it's fair to say. Like, we work in IT. Like, how many of you actually interact with net profit on a daily basis? Oh, yeah, but you're cheating. Yeah, same with all of these. They're largely like meaningless in a IT environment, largely meaningless in a manufacturing environment, which, like I say, sorry, this is more looking at the manufacturing influence and some of Goldrat's work. So I feel like I missed the transition point there to make that clear. Sorry, that's my bad presenting. Yeah, so you go onto like a factory floor, speak to a manager there. Are they going to be able to tell you how what they're doing affects net profit? No? They're not going to be able to tell you return on investment or anything like that. But what they can tell you is things such as the throughput of the system. How quickly is stuff getting through the system? I think hopefully everyone can roughly gauge throughput of their teams in whatever random way. Throughput, you have inventory. So inventory in terms of how much like stuff have you got sat around which you've put money into but you haven't sold yet. Yeah. And your final one is operational expense. So how much money are you spending to get your inventory and actually sell it? And they roughly map onto all three of these different things, not necessarily one for one, but another way of looking at it is in terms of like throughput, and the other two are cost. Anyway, sorry, I hope like everyone's following me so far. I can appreciate this is very like, why should I care? The reason like I'm mentioning this is to just sort of introduce the concept of throughput and cost, roughly speaking, can describe the idea of earning money in business terms, very roughly. So another question for room. Who's familiar with the concept of a value chain? Kind of. Do you want to give it a go?
It's along the lines of kind of return on investment, where if you're putting so much into, say, for example, infrastructure or equipment, in a manufacturing example, are you actually getting the value out of it? If you spend 10 grand on a machine, but you're not effectively making that back, was it worth investing in the machine in the first place?
Yeah, that's sort of leaning more towards return on investment. Specifically with value chain, I'm more referring to through which sort of process does your business actually earn money? So out of curiosity, how many people here are consultants? Just show of hands. About half the room-ish. Okay, so everyone else, just like, what do you do?
I'm a software developer.
Software developer. What does your company do, rather?
They are selling the platform for business analysts for maybe something like that.
Yeah. So is it reasonable to say that the way in which your company earns money is through getting more people to sign up?
Yeah, definitely.
And through reducing churn rate is probably your other main thing. Yeah. So in effect, if we're talking in terms of M2 factors, your value stream there is going from like essentially like, here's a business hypothesis going through to production. Through you got sorry, I realised I need to do it back to front for. You got a business hypothesis that then goes into some form of backlog for your teams. Software development goes through, makes a change that then gets handed over to. I'm going to say handed over to operations. I'm assuming that's probably automated. I'm not sure. I don't know your team. That gets deployed into production. Once it's in production, hopefully that business hypothesis has gone all the way through and has now increased the amount of people who are joining or decreased your churn rate. So that's your value stream. It's how does like an abstract concept of work make its way through your company into something which generates money and generates value. Does that make sense? So that's a value chain. So if we're thinking in terms of cost and throughput, like we did before, the nature of cost is it's additive. So thinking back to our chain for a minute, a good analogy for it is if you think of the weight of a chain. So if I increase the weight, increase the cost of an individual link, that makes the overall chain heavier, doesn't it? I think that's fair to say. So when we're operating in terms of cost, one of the things which we have a tendency to do is basically go, how much can you cut down the weight of your segment of the chain? We operate on a very individual level, yeah? On the other hand, if we go through and look at the strength of the chain, that's more analogous to throughput. So how many weakest links are there on a chain? There's always one, yeah? No matter how you build your chain, there's always one weakest link within it. So by extension, the strength of a chain is always determined by that weakest link. So if I go through and I tell you, again, thinking back to that value chain, if I go through and say, you need to make the throughput of development much stronger, your development team is not developing enough, you need to do more. But then the operations team is sat there, they're still not that strong as a link. Then your issue there is going to be your weakest link is still your operations team. Have you improved the strength of the chain? No, you've not. You've not actually made the throughput of the whole system better. But what you have done is you've increased costs because you made it stronger, yeah? So that's very abstract and going 3 levels away. But essentially, when talking about a throughput optimized system rather than cost optimized, improvements to improvements to individual areas do not affect the whole unless it's the area which is the weakest link, yeah? And so that's why, going back to the removing silos, a very important thing with DevOps is looking at the whole process and not just individual sections. So anyway, yeah. Is there any questions on that so far, I suppose? Sorry, I feel like I've very much just been monologuing at a room. Everyone still awake? Can I get a thumbs up? Yeah? That's most of a room, at least. I'd call that a success. So anyway, yeah, you might be thinking, how is this actually applicable to you? How does this actually change your job? That sort of thing. I think that's a very fair question. The question I have for you is, what improvement are you currently looking at within your team? What are you looking to change? And what are you trying to improve? This isn't an abstract question, by the way. I'm going to throw the ball around if I can find it. Oh, there it is. Anyone? Any brave volunteers? Yeah? Well, sorry, what I mean is not just... sorry, you put your hand up, so I'm going to throw this to you anyway. Who put his hand up first over here, sorry? Did you?
No.
Oh, I feel like you just got voluntold. But okay, so... efficiency, yes, but what I mean is more specific. I mean, don't give away client information, for example, but within our team at the moment, we've realized we've got a absence of standardization and processes, and that's causing us an issue where we've got new engineers and they can't do half the work our team does because they don't know what we do, That's the sort of thing I mean. What within your team are you currently looking at improving? Is anyone currently looking at improving their team? Or is everyone just sort of continuing what you're doing? Because I think that's actually a slightly different question. Hands up, I'm not going to pick on anyone, I promise. Is anyone actually currently doing continuous improvement within their team? 1 person? 2? 3? 4? 5? But I can tell you don't want to answer any more questions.
It's a bit awkward.
Yeah? If you don't mind me asking, how's it a bit awkward? Or
We're offshoring.
you're offshoring? Oh, I can see how it's a bit awkward. But out of curiosity, how's that improving your team?
I don't think it is. I think it'll just end up being a boomerang that'll come back.
Well, I suppose talking in terms of our cost and throughput, it's improving the cost, right? But is it improving the throughput of your team?
Not at all.
Not at all. Would you say it's actively damaging it because you're having to onboard new people?
100%.
Yeah? So,
Just
yeah.
make a point there that from a business point of view,
Mm.
it might be attempting to improve the throughput, even though people on the ground don't see it that way. And like you say, everything's cyclical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a short-term gain for long-term.
Prioritising short term at the cost of long term, aren't they? Yeah.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
Which, yeah. So on that end though, if we're talking, like I say, that's a decrease in throughput. The question is like within your value chain, just thinking through it roughly, are you guys want to be like critical teams within it?
Yes, we developed the tooling that allows the teams to deploy.
So
Essentially a DevOps team.
yeah. So by extension, going back to the like weakest link analogy and that sort of thing, if by offshoring you're decreasing the throughput of your team and you're then also a team which a lot of the rest of the company depends upon, by decreasing your throughput of your team, that will directly affect other teams, which in turn then affects the throughput of the whole system and will cause a much bigger effect than we realise, won't it?
I'll talk to you after.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, sorry. I appreciate you said you didn't want to discuss it, and then we immediately discussed it. So I'm sorry. that's bad on my part. Where's that sticker of stars got on, by the way? Are you still? Do you want to throw one across to him?
Yeah.
And actually, quick show of hands. Who's answered a question or like engaged so far? Can you just put your hands up so you can get stickers? Because like, might as well give them out. You made noises, did you say? Yeah, you can have one. So, yeah. Like I say, sorry, I feel like I came up here with like a rough idea and not really a conclusion. So I do apologise, but essentially,
I've got a question.
yeah, I'd appreciate a question.
For the value chain,
Yes.
obviously you've mentioned about the weaker link aspect and such.
Yes.
How do you like that? Like, how would you identify easily a weaker link amongst?
This is the entire half of my presentation I forgot to do. Thank you so much. So I should probably like look towards Ethan because he's looking very concerned. How much time do I have? Because I forgot to keep track.
About another 5 minutes.
About another 5 minutes. Let's do a quick crash course on the theory of constraints. Yeah. So if we're talking throughput for a minute, very roughly speaking, the throughput of a system is, sorry, I'm going to say very rough and then use a precise definition because like I'm very awkward like that. Throughput is the rate in which the system can generate money through sales. That is the specific definition of throughput from the thing. Essentially, in a factory context, even though I can produce more stuff, if I'm not selling it, it doesn't matter because it's just sat in a warehouse. In the same way, even if I can produce more like changes to like the Git repos, if I'm not deploying them, it doesn't matter. Unless something's actually gone through to a customer, there's no value in it. Yeah. So it's a very specific definition. But anyway, not the point. Talking of constraints, a constraint is something which is unable to, a constraint is something which is delivering at the like, the throughput of the thing is below the demand on the thing. Does that make sense? If I describe it like that? Hopefully, yeah. So if we have a constraint, let's call it X, yeah? And our constraint is feeding into something which is not a constraint. We'll call it Y, yeah? What can we expect to happen with like anything that goes through X as a rough guide? Well, if X is the bottleneck, this is something coming afterwards. So I should have probably done the opposite way around first, to be honest, sorry. So we've got something which is not a bottleneck, feeding into a bottleneck, yeah? So Y is faster than X, and we're passing boxes through. We can expect a build-up of boxes before X, essentially. We can, I think that's a reasonable thing to say. So you can see an increase in work in progress, an increase in inventory before X. Equally, if X is passing into something faster than it, this can process it as fast as X can throw it out. So we expect next to no minimal inventory, let's just call it that, between the two. Is everyone okay with that roughly as a generalization thingy, roughly? How can I help with it? Or
No, it's fine.
are you fine? Okay. So, based upon this, at least in a this is where it gets awkward because this is talking in terms of standard operations as well. So like the reality is if something takes longer to process on why you can get stuff built up. But essentially the way you can find the biggest constraint and the biggest bottleneck within your system is look for where the biggest pile of work in progress is. Look for the biggest pile of stuff that needs to get done. And luckily, in modern software engineering, we've got Jira and backlogs with thousands of tickets on which we need to get done. So depending on your team, of course. But like it's something which we've at least visualized, even if we've not necessarily went upon. Does that sort of answer the question of how to identify at least? Yeah? Within the theory of constraints, by the way, there are 5 steps. So you identify, exploit, subordinate, elevate, and break inertia are the 5 steps. So very roughly speaking, identify what your constraint is. This is our constraint, yeah? Within this work area. The next thing you do is you exploit it. So, you know, in the example within the book, they use a CNC machine. Then it's just like sat idle over lunch times and that sort of thing. So you do all you can to maximize the throughput of that machine or that work area as best you can. So for example, let's say it's a specific developer team. You minimize the amount of random meetings they have to go to so they actually have more time to do their job. You know, that sort of thing. Next thing you can do is you can subordinate the whole system to it, because in any chain where you've got stuff, the maximum speed of what the maximum throughput is dictated by the slowest thing. If we think back to our chain analogy, the strength of the chain is dictated by the weakest link, not the strongest one. So you can subordinate the entire rest of the chain to only work as fast as that that team can actually do stuff. And then you can go through and elevate it. So, you know, what long-term things can you actually do to make that team do better, essentially? And the final thing is you need to like constantly reevaluate and break inertia. So if I improve this team and it hits a point where this is no longer our constraint, I now need to stop looking at this and I need to look somewhere else. Does that hopefully make sense as a very rough set of steps when like Ethan's going to set a sniper on me in about 2 minutes time? Everyone okay with that? As a very rough guide of what to do, like without any stuff to justify it. Read The Goal by Elijah Goldratt, by the way, if you actually want to understand this and properly go through and do it. It's just worth a read. Yeah?
Assuming these teams are human teams,
Yep.
What is the impact on, I suppose, the morale or the output of the people in these teams? Because if you're spending your whole career sat in Y, it's like you're not like growing or delivering because your team's not scaling up, right? You're not a growing team. Whereas if you're in X, right, you're coming into a team where you have huge amounts of value to provide.
Yeah.
So in a team such as this, would it be recommended to perhaps rotate people between teams, maybe X or Y?
I'm going to be slightly awkward and answer your question with a question.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we have Y here and it's running faster than X, we're just going to give them more work and build up work in progress, aren't we? So we can match Y's speed to X. So quick show of hands, how many people are firefighting day to day and have like no time to do anything? Yeah? If you can do less than 100% of your total capacity because you've got that flexibility, you don't have to firefight anymore. So actually in terms of morale, that's a much bigger impact. I mean, obviously there's still not to say you can't improve stuff as a team, because you can still get better, but like at least talking strategically, it's not necessarily where you should be putting your focus. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's still a boost in morale you get from that huge wave of investment of being in an X team.
True, but that's also combined with the like a constant firefighting and the you need to be at full capacity. So I'd say at least roughly balances out.
Okay.
But it depends, like I say, because equally, am I fair saying everyone's an engineer here, or at least roughly engineering inclined? Like, I feel like having a very clear problem and like that sort of thing is always quite engaging. So, yeah. Are there any other questions? I suppose open that up to room. No? Cool. If that's the case, I'm going to end here. If anyone wants to speak to me afterwards, please do. I really like chatting to people about random stuff. Other than that, yeah, thank you for coming. And like I say, if you're interested in any of the very rough stuff I've described here. Read The Goal by Elijah Goldratt. If you come to me afterwards, I'll help you find it on Amazon. We can go from there. Cool.